Hi everyone, I'm Emily Frazer, COO of Matchroom Sport, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I've got Emily Frazer here. Hey Emily, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Sun is shining, making me very happy and positive. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Yeah, I just want to go outside without any trouble. So
Don't do anything to get arrested now.
no, I won't, even though I run pretty fast, but no, I won't. Emily, you are the COO of Matchroom Sports. For people who don't understand what that is, could you tell us a bit about it?
Sure. Matchroom Sport is a sports promotion company. So
Yeah.
we own stage different sporting events all across the world, here in the UK, internationally. We also have our own production company here as well.
Yeah.
So we we not only do we stage and we own our events, we also distribute them and broadcast them across the entire
Oh
globe.
wow.
So if there is a Matchroom event, it's not just here in the UK, it is on
It's all
everywhere.
over.
That
Oh
is
my
what we're
gosh.
known for. So under the Matchroom Sport umbrella, we have different departments. So we have Matchroom Boxing, which I'm sure everyone's very much
Yeah.
heard of, with Eddie Hearn. And then we have PDC, which is the da, 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 it's the darts.
Yeah.
Best way to describe it. The World Championships at Alexandra Palace.
Yeah.
And then we have Matchroom Multisport, which basically I like to explain it as the weird niche stuff that isn't boxing or darts.
Yeah.
Anything that is not that comes under the multisport remit, which is it is the most exciting stuff, to be honest, because we do different sports. Like we can go from a fishing event to a 10-pin bowling event
Oh my
to a
gosh.
gymnastics event, 9-ball pool, which is actually our strongest
Yeah.
sport that we do, just because we do so many of them. A lot of our shows in those sports are one a year, just because they are
Okay.
so unique and niche. So fishing, we just do a
Yeah.
one event called Fishermania. But our Matchroom pool department is growing year by year, and we keep taking on new events with us. We're the leading promoters in that sport, and I hate to say it, but we are the leading promoters in every sport, really.
I like the way you say it. It's like,
We
yeah,
are.
you are.
I'm like
Hey,
shrugging off
dust
my
your shoulders
shoulders.
off, girl.
So yeah, we obviously dive into lots of different sports. So you can go from one competition at a fishing event where someone's using the wrong maggot, or you can
Yeah.
go from a 9-ball pool event where someone's put their cue on the table and sort of conceded the rack. It's all
Yes.
very, very different, but that's a brief overview of Matchroom. Just recently we just launched Matchroom Live, which is another part of Matchroom Sport, which is all of our archive programming. All of the events that we've staged ever since we started is all on Matchroom Live, and it's a great platform for all of our different sports, for everyone to come together and to watch all of our archive footage on there. Moving forward, we'll also be able to be a platform that people can view our sports on as well.
Oh,
So
perfect.
we're growing, and it's
No,
very
huge.
exciting.
You're growing huge. How is it? How is it for you? How did you actually get into Matchroom? So how did it start, and how did you actually get involved in it to become
Well,
where you are today?
you'll never guess it, to be completely honest with you.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
um, to give you a brief overview of it, I was always told that at parents' evening at schools that I need to pull my finger out my arse, sort of thing, and my grades weren't too good, and I
Sound
never,
like me.
yeah,
Yeah.
never went to university. But I would go to school, but then I would go straight to work after school to ensure that I was working, and whether it was in a pub or in a bar, anything, just to get some income. So that's I was always just set to graft, basically. And I think I would have been booted out of the school if it wasn't for the teachers liking my personality. That's what they always said. But anyway, so I finished school and I thought, right, just need to work, found an estate agent job. Oh my God. And I only got that job. I did like a ski season, when you have that year where you're not sure
Yeah.
what you're going to do. I worked for my parents for a little bit and I did a ski season. And then I got this estate agent job only because my mum knew the branch manager. Oh my God, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. My parents' office was like a mile down the road. Every lunchtime, I'd go to my dad's office and I'd go, "Oh my God, Dad, I hate this job so much." He goes,
But
"Well,
did they
quit."
make you stay at it? Did they say you have to stick at it?
No,
Otherwise,
no, they went, "Quit." And I was like, "No."
serious? Oh,
Yeah, I
that's
was like, "No."
cool.
I was like, "No, I'm not quitting. I've got to otherwise, where am I going to get my money from?" And
Yeah.
so I carried on working there. I think I did 3 months there, but what happened was in the actual mix of it, my dad played poker professionally
Ah,
as a
cool.
hobby. So back in the days of Matchroom Sport, when we first started, obviously a bit before my time, we were heavily involved in poker. And my dad managed to get into one of the events, and he knew Barry Hearn, and
Ah,
um,
okay.
and he played poker against him in one of the events. And you know what it's like. He was probably like, "I'll just give my daughter a work experience job, for goodness sake, just make teas and coffees." And I remember I went along, I did 2 weeks work experience and like just, paid expenses. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. I just worked my arse off. And to be fair, I always lived quite far away from their main offices. And I remember I got a phone call in my estate agent job and they said, "Oh, someone's dropped out. Could you come and help us out on one of these events?" I was like, 100%. Put the holiday in at work and went straight over and started working there. And then next thing you have it, they offered me a job
Oh, wicked.
and said, "Do you want to come on and work under the TV, like in the TV department?" I was like,
Yeah.
100%. So I quit my job straight away, and that's how I started at Matchroom.
Ah.
So I started in the TV department. My background is the TV production, the broadcast, and I learned all of my ways from Katie Hearn, which is Barry's daughter. She heads up the TV department. She was kind of like my mentor as such, and I learned a lot from her. I really look up to her because she was this woman in like a
Yeah,
man's world as
strong. Yeah,
such.
strong woman.
Strong. She knew
Yeah.
how to address a room, sort of thing. And I've always looked up to her. And so anyway, I came in under her wing, and since then
Oh.
just worked hard. And I love it here. It's like a family as such. So
You know, the
I,
nicest thing is that even though we've just started the podcast, I can sincerely see not only do you have a passion for what you do,
mm.
I can see that you're really chilled out as well.
Thanks.
I know that you get your work done, like, don't mess with you. I know that part, but I can see just by having, like, the couple minutes of us having a chat so far,
Mm.
is that you are down to earth with what you do because you genuinely love it, and I think that's a nice thing, and it's so nice to have that on the podcast
Oh, perfect.
to
Well,
let
that's good.
people know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, opportunities have come along since I've been here, and obviously doors have opened. But I've
Yeah.
grafted, and I just reached a 10-year milestone
Oh, wow.
this month that I've been working here. So I kind of sit here, and I think I tweeted about it, and I was like, "Well, it's been an honor that I've got to where I am." But it's now, where does the next 10 years take me? But I feel like you could literally cut me open and my blood would be Matchroom. That's the bit.
Oh.
I was kind of
Oh.
raised like that in my family. Like my family's very tight.
I know you've already told me a bit about it before when it
Mm.
comes to sports. We spoke about it just before we started recording, but were you actually into sports before you your face alone says it all. I wish everyone could see it.
Look, I was really, really good at relay races, cross country.
Oh. So you
No,
good at sports?
yeah, do you know, I'm a sporty person, and I've lost over like a stone in lockdown because I just work out like 2 hours a day.
Which
But
is cool, yeah.
I've turned more into a sporty person. I had like one of those bad periods where I just ate a load and I put on a load of weight. But the gym and working out actually really helps me mentally.
Yeah.
It really helps me just clear my mind. I go out for a run, and so mentally and physically, I love working out. Um, I really enjoyed netball when I was younger. It's
Oh,
always
that's
goal
good to hear.
defence. So that obviously helps with our Fast Five netball event that we did. So
Oh,
when
yeah.
we looked at starting up netball, I was like, yeah, I'm going to create a new format that's like fast paced and aggressive and all of this, because I went and watched one of the netball events, and it sounds terrible, but I think I sat there and I was with one of the directors from Matchroom, and we were sitting there watching the netball, and I just said, God, I'm just so bored. I
Oh,
love netball, like I love netball, but I was just so bored. It was like a
yeah,
home game. But that's the beauty of Matchroom. That's what
yeah,
we do. We commercialize these sports, and you do get your hardcore fans, but a casual sports fan, that's how I see myself. I'm a casual sports fan.
yeah.
If I'm passionate about something, I get involved with it. But the Fast Five netball event that we've got is just, oh my goodness, the atmosphere, and it's 12-minute matches. You've got a golden buzzer. You've got the girls just like super defensive and aggressive. You've got them falling over. They've got a 5 point line and zone that they can get
I'm
5
gonna have to
points.
come to one of these events, Emily.
Oh my goodness. Honestly, we basically try and draw the line between professionalism and gimmicky, and we're kind of
Yeah.
like halfway. And then sometimes we might overstep the mark, but no, we're good. Um, but no, I enjoy working out, and I've always been like a sporty person, but
Yeah,
I'm not like I've been super into netball and I've grown up loving netball. I've just been a casual sports fan.
yeah. Oh, that makes
So
sense.
that's a little bit of background for you.
Oh, that's perfect. What is the biggest physical challenge when it comes to doing sports professionally, you think? What advice could you give people? If it's not from yourself about sports, what could you give to other people to let them know?
If they're participating as a
Yeah,
sportsman,
yeah,
goodness me, it's just I think what's different for us is that when we put an event on, there's a stage, there's lights, there's cameras. Let me try and put it into perspective. In our or in all of our events, you could take one event that someone else does that year, and
yeah,
it can have, I don't know, four cameras on it, not as much lighting. They just walk out. Then as soon as Matchroom take it, you get the absolute razzmatazz. If you just think like Space Jam,
oh
them
yeah,
walking out the end thing, imagine that. So all of a sudden, you're doing something that you love, you're passionate about. Say if you're a netballer,
yeah,
you're playing this sport, but then you're not just coming along to come and beat your opponent. You're coming out to, this is being broadcast across the entire world. It's going to a million people, over a million people watching.
yeah,
So it's not just your mum and dad that's sitting in the crowd going, "Come on, mate, you got this." You've got everyone. You've got all eyes on you. If you don't make that 5 point shot, it's on you. And so
yeah,
everyone's watching, and all of a sudden you've got these big walkouts. You've got sparklers going. You like it's live sport, but professional sport, and that's a real big challenge. It's the nerves that you see. I've watched pool players who are
yeah,
literally the best in the world, the absolute best. You got they'll perform so well at these other events that aren't Matchroom events. They can perform really well. They
yeah,
come into one of ours, a Moscone Cup we do, and we had 2,500 spectators all watching a pool game, which is just mental. And these players, they just fold into the mix because they can't handle the pressure. You've got European fans shouting at these USA players,
yeah.
just like, go home, do this. And because people get so passionate about it.
Oh,
And that it must be so nerve-wracking to them. I honestly, I'd say it to people all the time, hats off to these athletes to do it, because not only are they coming out to, it's their talent, but there's
yeah.
everything else around it as well.
That must
And
be
then,
hard as well. It must be. I can imagine it. It's even when you do your job and
mm,
you know the stress of your own job. So having to watch somebody else do theirs,
yeah,
your heart goes out to them.
yeah, definitely. And you just feel your heart does sink sometimes when they miss the shot, and you go, oh God, like, and it's all resting on that. And
Oh,
core, the mentality of trying to come back from that. It's just, it must be really, really tough. And also, we all know what it's like working out physically,
yeah,
not even mentally. You have to stick
yeah,
to plans, um, regimes, and things like that. And so you have to be really, really strong willed to be able to be a professional athlete.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Who's your favorite sports icon?
I'm only going to say, I think it's fair to put it to someone I've met.
Okay.
And this is, I'm not like, oh, I've met this person.
Oh.
But Simone Biles,
Oh.
she, wow. We did the Superstars of Gymnastics at the O2
Yeah.
last March. Not the one, not 2020, 2019. She was just phenomenal. To just I met her a few times, and I mean, she's a diva, and rightly so. She has every right to be a diva. She's the best gymnast in the whole bloody world. But she was just so nice as well. You know, we had breakfast with her, and she was comfortable with us, and she was just it was fascinating to
Yeah.
actually do an event with her, and to be around someone that is just so like loved and just globally recognized. And
Yeah.
she really enjoyed our event. We created gymnastics. I'm not sure how much you know about, but I was a gymnastics coach when I was younger. Wasn't very
Yeah.
coordinated. I was actually laughing about it with my mum last night because my sister keeps trying to get me to do these bloody dance TikToks and I can't do them. And you know the leg one where it's like duh, duh, and oh whatever. Anyway, so she does them and she picks the dances up so well. I can't
Yeah.
do it. And so my mum said to me, she's like, oh, remember when you tried to do gymnastics when you were younger? You're not very coordinated, are you? And I was like, no, mum, thanks. So um, anyway, gymnastics is super hard when it comes to the scoring. So as
Yeah,
a
I can
casual
imagine.
sports
Yeah.
fan, you're like
Yeah.
9.7 what 7 2 3 4 5 6, huh? Like who's in the front? Um, so we did the World Cup of Gymnastics with British Gymnastics in
Yeah.
2017, I think. I'm getting old now, so my memory's bad. But
No, you're not old. We're not old. We're not
oh,
old.
um, and we worked with British Gymnastics and we did the World Cup. So many restrictions behind it. We can add
Oh,
prize
wow.
money in because it's this big event.
Yeah.
And when we take an event, you know, we like ownership of it and we like to be
Yeah.
able to add in little gimmicks like the golden buzzer. The
Yeah.
best £500 I've ever spent in my life, making that golden buzzer. You'll have to see a picture of it after.
Yeah.
Um, but we realized that gymnastics worked really well at the O2, huge demand for it. So what we did is we created a new event, Superstars of Gymnastics. We are trying to, you know, keep it on and to build upon it, but it's quite new for us. And obviously with the current situation, all of our
Yeah.
sporting events are on hold. But we created this Strictly Come Dancing of gymnastics, and we had this judges panel. They all had 1 to 10, and Simone was one of the judges. And we brought in all of the gymnasts, all the top gymnasts. So
Yeah.
some of them have retired, but they were all gold medalists. They were all Olympic champions because they couldn't compete in the normal events right now, but they
Yeah.
could come to ours. So we had Fabian Hambuschen, who's the gold medalist from Germany. He ended up actually supermaning over the vault. And then the judges would put their cards up. And it was a day, it was 6 hours, 2 3 hour sessions. And it was the day just went by so quickly.
It always
And
goes quickly when you're
oh,
enjoying yourself.
it
I'm telling
really
you.
does.
Yeah.
And there was one point where Simone held up, I think she gave someone a 7 or something. And you could tell that the audience were getting more interactive with the
Yeah.
event. And they've held it up and everyone's booing her. And I was like, boo. And I was going, oh my goodness. And she was like, what? But it was brilliant. But so being involved with someone like that and doing an event
Yeah.
with someone like the magnitude of Simone Biles, who's, you know, she's huge.
Yeah. It's massive.
And she was preparing for a competition leading up to our event and just listening to her food schedules because obviously we have all of that,
Oh.
you know, lined up and what she's got to eat and she's got to be so strict. And fair play to her, she is an absolute superstar. So she's
Oh.
definitely one of my icons.
Wow. What's the three reasons you like being part of a team?
No matter what job you do or no matter who you are within that team,
Yeah.
if someone's struggling, anyone within that team will always help out to go and get you a coffee or just go and get
I
you a
love that.
tea or to
I
make
love
sure
that.
you're okay. That's what I love about our multi-sport team. No matter who
I
you
love
are,
that.
You look like you're
Yeah.
struggling. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go get you a Starbucks.
See, yeah. Hot
It's a
chocolate for me.
Oh goodness, no. When you're doing
Why?
these, no, when you're doing these events, you need at least 12
What?
espressos. Yeah,
12
they're done.
espressos? Is that your daily routine?
No, it's not. It's eased off a little bit recently, I must say. Um, and do you know what? It's just I briefly said it to you. I'm turning 30 on Monday. I've been very depressed about it. I
Oh,
won't
come
be
on, you're
ashamed to say.
young.
No, I'm getting bloody
I've
old.
got 7 years on you.
um, and well, this is one of the reasons. So today we had our team meeting, which we have a weekly Zoom call
Yeah.
every Friday. And I was, you're just having one of those days, you're getting things done. I've been really depressed about my birthday coming up. And
Oh,
I logged into the Zoom call and they've all got happy birthday and they've all made an effort, to make me feel good about it. And
yeah,
that's why you're in a team. You all
yeah.
support one another. And it's just so nice that we actually have that team. And a lot of people work in workplaces where they can't stand some of the people, but
I've
we
seen it. Believe me, I've seen it.
exactly. But people forget these are like, I have so many work husbands here who you talk to on obviously different contractors that we have on you
Yeah,
talk to on a daily basis. But this core team here, you spend every minute of the day with them. When you're on an event,
yeah,
you start building the event and you could be on site from 5 a.m. until 1 a.m. in the morning. And you're at the height of tension and you want to scream at someone and
yeah,
you're around all of this is happening and you've got to have the right team around you supporting you and you
mhm.
cannot do these events unless you have the right team.
What
And
would you say is the most difficult part about being a COO and having to, like, look after your team?
you never ever get lessons on how to manage a team, do
That's true.
you? You
That is
don't go to school and they tell you what
It's
to
like
do.
parenting, just there's no book.
There's no book. Everyone is different, including myself. There might be things that I do that absolutely irritate some people, and vice versa. It's just learning who is in your team, working together. You're not against one another. The stronger our team is, the stronger and the better our events are. That's
That's
how
true.
I see
I
it.
agree with you.
But it's very challenging because everyone is different.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't change it for the world. The team that is in the multi-sport team at the moment is the strongest it's ever been.
which is good. How do you feel that 2021 would be for you guys?
Well, at the moment, we've had quite a number of events that we postponed and
Yeah,
rescheduled. The challenging thing for us at the moment is that there's no live sport, and we're very much led by government restrictions. So it's not as though we can go, okay, July the 1st, we can start doing events
yeah,
again.
exactly. Yeah, it's
It's
hard.
we're who's to say that we can have 5,000 people at the Copper Box
Yeah,
in a couple of months' time? You just don't know. So what we're doing is obviously a first thing for everyone in this situation. No one's experienced this before. We're just taking each day as it comes. But the second half of this year and the winter is backing up with so much live sport. And sometimes some of our niche events like 10-pin bowling or even pool is at the bottom of the priority chain when it comes
yes.
to football coming back as such. So for us, I think 2021 is going to be jam packed, um, but also very tough because it's getting things back into the market. Just in the pool industry, for instance, no one's going to the pool clubs to go and play, so no one's buying products. So
True.
a lot of the industry is obviously suffering as such. But we've got to stay proactive and we've got to stay creative. This might be a new
Yeah,
time that we bring in a new sport. We don't know.
which will be good. Yeah,
Exactly.
you never know how it's gonna turn out, which is cool.
Hmm.
If you was on a desert island, here's a question for you. If you was left on a desert island
Oh gosh. Well,
and
I
you
wouldn't mind
had
that.
a hot desert island, let's say a
Yeah.
hot desert island. Okay.
Yeah.
If you was left on a hot desert island, you had food, you had water, but you was only allowed to bring one sports icon. And I know you said one already. Is there any other sports icon? that you would bring on that island that you know that you would get along with?
Oh, what a great question. I feel like okay, it's gonna be super weird. So obviously we do a basketball event, right?
Yeah.
We've been doing it for 3 years now. Um, and I got ridiculed on year one because one of my favorite films when I was younger was Space Jam. Okay. So,
Oh,
yeah. And obviously, the basketball industry is, and in the UK, is very different to the US.
yeah,
Basketball industry in the UK obviously have their ways that they do things, and they've got the walkout songs or the way that they run their events. Obviously, we have the way that we run our events, and
yeah.
I had it set in my brain, and I don't know if I even told anyone this. Maybe the team. I actually watched Space Jam every night, 3 nights
Oh,
before
bless
my
you.
first basketball event. I know,
Oh,
I'm a fucking loser, I tell you.
you're not even allowed to say that.
Sorry,
We
swearing,
all have
sorry.
something. No, that's what the podcast is about, Emily. It's about you expressing who you are and not changing for anyone.
Sure.
Yeah,
So yeah, I watched Space Jam, and I just had it in my head that I wanted all of these 8 teams this one day. They all had to walk out to the like the Space Jam song, right? I think that's the right song. And the team know here, right? We'd be sitting here in this office. So I'm going on different tangents. We'd be sitting here in the office, or we could be at an event. No, it's normally at an event where shit's really hitting the fan. And I've sat there before, and it's like really not going great. And I go, right, I know what I need to do. I go onto YouTube and I type in Space Jam. It's actually in
yeah,
my liked Spotify list, and it's on my YouTube. And I just put it on. Everybody get up. It's time to say, right? And it just gets me I'm just like alive. And I had this dream and I had this vision that they all had to walk out to this Space Jam song. And the basketball industry were like, who are you? You're living in the past. So on that,
but that
and
would be cool though. Imagine if it did happen.
yeah, it was bloody brilliant. They all walked out to this song, and I was down there, and it was absolutely fantastic. I was probably the only person in the O2 arena that enjoyed it, but I had the time of my life.
Oh man.
So I'm going to say Michael Jordan purely because of Space Jam. Just also like the Netflix series, I've been watching it, and I've watched
Yeah,
2 episodes so far. I just think it's super fascinating, and he's just one of those people you just love to meet. You just love to
yeah.
sit there and just listen. So that's who I would want to be stuck on the desert island with.
Oh man, that'd be pretty cool. I know this question most probably would coincide with the answer you've just actually given me.
Mm.
But what emotions do you feel when you're playing a sport or when you're watching somebody who's come to play a sport?
A bit different for me because when I go and spectate a sport as a
Yeah,
spectator, that is not one of our events.
yeah,
All I do is I sit there. I don't watch the sport. I look around and I look at what they're doing and how they're
yeah,
staging it. And I note down how I could do it better. And then I look at like the format, and I'm like, right, when am I bored? How can I make this more exciting? So if I'm spectating, I'm not really concentrating on that side of things.
yeah,
When it's one of our events, obviously you're running around, things happen, and you have to react to it. But when you're watching the actual sport unfold and you're there, you grow an attachment to these
yeah.
players,
You become connected.
of course. And you
Yeah,
everyone knows you have your favorites and you're secretly
yeah,
rooting for and you're booing. But also, I have the passion for our events. So for instance,
yeah.
like our Moscone Cup event, it's USA versus Europe. For a
Oh,
real long time, I think it was like 9 years, USA were absolutely getting spanked by Europe. And it was becoming to the point where I was like, God, we're going to really have to do something with this event.
about it.
Yeah, and it's on its last legs. People aren't tuning in because it's not competitive. So it's
Yeah,
basically like the Ryder Cup of pool. And then so that year I was rooting for USA. In the last 2 years, I've been rooting for USA.
yeah.
So you grow a passion and a connection
Oh,
to these athletes, and you just become so involved. Um, Yeah, it's making me really miss events. I just want to go back
Oh,
to work. I'm like, I just need an event to happen.
do you know what? I over the past like couple of days of me doing the podcast with so many
Mm,
different types of people who have so many different types of backgrounds,
mm.
I'm starting to realize who is really passionate about what they do and who is not so passionate. But one of the things I have noticed is every single person who I've had a podcast with gets so emotional by the end of the podcast.
Honestly, I could go to a funeral, not cry a tear, and
If you had to talk about this,
get me watching Harry Potter,
Space
um,
Jam,
Frozen, Space
yeah.
Jam, literally
I
hairs on the back
watched
of my
It's
neck.
funny actually, I watched Frozen just about 3 days ago,
Great. Did
again.
you watch the second one?
No, I
Absolutely
haven't yet.
fantastic. Oh, I
I
watched it
haven't
on the
watched the
plane.
second one.
I watched it on the plane coming back from Vegas. So I was in Vegas during the whole time when Trump put the ban on UK
Oh,
coming over. I was over there because we have our US Open pool event, and it was
yeah,
actually taking place in April. So I was doing all my last minute final meetings. Um, and amongst the whole COVID situation, I was trying to come up with contingencies. And then I was there, and
yeah.
all of a sudden, Trump says, "Okay, you're banned for 30 days." And
And you're like, "Holy cow."
yeah, so on my way back, I watched Frozen 2 on the plane, and I don't know whether I was crying because the event's been postponed or because Olaf is just, Olaf. So
Oh
yeah,
dear.
it was quite amusing.
If you had an unlimited budget of money for
Goodness.
anything, yeah?
Mm.
So it's infinity. What would you change in the sports industry?
I would I'm very, very passionate about pool. You'll
Yeah, I
see
read that
a
about
lot.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, you'll
yeah,
see a lot on social media. I'm very passionate about pool, just because I feel like that's where a lot of my achievements come from. Obviously, we've started events in netball, basketball, gymnastics, and we've
yeah.
evolved other events. Tenpin bowling's come such a long way. Um, but I would love to put a load of money into pool to just there's no similar to say bowling. It's very recreational here. You go to all star lanes and you can get pissed up whilst you're bowling. Over in America, they have a full league. How you can get onto different structures of your professional game, and how you can get onto the tour and things like that. And same as golf, darts. So many different sports have that structure. You don't have that for pool, and that is what I would
Oh,
love to put. You don't have it here in the UK. You don't have it in the States. You don't really have it anywhere in the world for pool,
yeah,
and that's what I'm very passionate about. And I would put all of the money, if I had unlimited money, I would put a
yeah.
load of money into that to get that up, because also it would benefit us in our
It's true.
events,
No,
because
that is true.
I'd love to have 5,000 people at Alexandra Palace for the Moscone Cup. We can only do that if we actually build pool mainstream and globally. Um, and also, it's a real struggle as well in pool, is that some of the women um, in the sport, obviously, you do get sports where it is a male dominated sport,
Yeah,
for instance, like basketball. And it's very similar in pool. And I think the women have kind of been not like belittled, but they've been passed aside over a long time over the years, and they don't really push themselves to be better than the men because they haven't been able to be given that opportunity.
do you think it comes down to fear as well for some of the women, or they just feel like even if they're gonna push themselves, they don't feel like they're gonna get
Yeah,
anything back from it?
yeah, I don't think there's not enough for them. There's not enough
Yeah,
events for them. And they're just like quite a minority in the sport as such. And what we're trying to do at Matchroom is, in our invitational events, we are making sure that women have a spot in the events, and which is great. And there's a good handful of women in pool that have that ambition and that passion, that they're like, the way I see it as, if I wanted to be the best in the world, I want to fucking beat men and women. I want to beat everyone.
yeah.
And there are women that feel like that, but I don't think they've been given the opportunity. So I would love to put unlimited money into just globally into pool for both men and women. That is where my passion lies.
You see? Yeah,
I know, you can
definitely.
tell.
Tell. What makes your company different from other companies, would you say?
We're the company that if you want to do something and you know how some people sit on the fence and they're unsure, we're the
Yeah,
ones that always take the risk.
yeah.
Um, we just see it as go big or go home.
Yep,
If you don't like it, or if you make a mistake, then back to the drawing board, and you live, you learn, and you experience, sort of thing. We are the ones that push boundaries, basically. A lot of other promoters or other organizers may not change formats or may not think that it can work, but we just believe in ourselves, really. And we're on a global level. Like I said, the international broadcast is the biggest thing from Matchroom. If we hold an event, it is everywhere, it's every TV in the world. Um, so that's definitely our stronghold. But that's what makes us different. We're just unique. We're just creative.
I could see that.
We think
Yeah,
outside the box, and we wouldn't just. And one thing that I love about multisport, and I think what was happening over the years, was the events were just ticking along every year. They were just like the same every time, and
same
it's
thing.
just book the same
Competitive it
thing.
was.
And it's, yeah, they were still great events. And to be completely honest, I could do all of these events next year exactly the same how we've done them this year, and everyone
Yeah,
would still love them and it would still grow. But we're never going to evolve like that.
yeah,
The multi-sport is formed of all these unique sports and niche events. If we don't think outside the box and we don't be
we always
creative,
the same.
they're just going to sit along, not ticking along. But we need to evolve everything. If it doesn't work, okay, we've tried it. Let's move along and let's try something else.
I'd rather try something and know that it went wrong than not try at all and wonder if it would go
Yeah.
right.
As long as it doesn't cost a load of money, because then Barry might sack me.
Exactly. Don't worry, we'll get you infinity money. It's okay. We'll get
Okay.
you.
Like Monopoly money, but I'm not very
Yeah,
good at
Monopoly.
Monopoly.
I'm not too bad.
I
I'm
get
not too bad.
I get super stressed out if I don't land on
What?
Mayfair. If I don't land on Mayfair or Park Lane, I just throw the board and I have to walk away. I just,
I'm serious.
yeah, I'm too competitive.
No, man, I'm happy on Power Mile because I know that someone's gonna land on it again and again. What does success mean to you, and define it in your own words.
Wow, that's a good question. I guess success. Well, I'm a very ambitious person anyway. Like I said, I came out of school and all I wanted to do was work. Wow, Su- success is it would be to achieve all your goals, and in my opinion, my goals are to turn all of our sports around,
Yeah,
and to make them global. Um, you know, these global shows that everyone wants to buy a ticket for.
yeah.
That's my goal as such. And new events, new sports, that come on board. We only do 7 different sports in Matchroom Multisport. I'd love to expand that. So success to me would be to achieve those goals that I have, and it is just building and evolving those, and have a real,
Taking the chance.
yeah, taking the
Yeah.
chance. And so many teachers told me at school that I would literally not get anywhere, not out of spite, but they were just like, you just don't have it. You're just not really academically bright in that
Sometimes
respect.
I think a teacher will say, or even a person, just people in general,
Mm.
sometimes a person will turn around to you and say something about you, but they actually really mean it about themselves.
That's a good way to look at it. I think
Yeah.
when I got the job here, I thought to myself, I was like, oh, fuck you, teachers at school used to tell me that. I know I was always a grafter. And I made so many teas and coffees in my life. It's absolutely unreal.
You must be a pro. Like, yeah.
Success is making a bloody good cup of tea, because
Oh, yeah.
you need to make a
That
good
is
cup of
true.
tea for your boss.
Yeah. I had to make a lot of coffees, and now I just don't drink coffee
Yeah, it can put
because
you
of
off.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think, and also success is knowing that as a woman in a male dominated industry, to be pushing some boundaries and to actually have a voice.
Yeah, that is
That's
true.
something
I agree with
special.
you there. I think definitely when I started in photography, it was definitely like that for me.
Okay.
I had all the men saying, "What kind of gear do you have? Do you know what you're doing?" kind of thing. And yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from in that aspect of the area.
Yeah.
But how is it for you as a woman? Because remember, you are at the top of the chain. And well, for me, you're at the top of the chain. So
Mm.
how is it for when do other men or even people get intimidated because you are a strong woman? You know what you want. You're passionate about what you do. What advice would you give to other women who want to be in a similar position, who want to understand the whole industry of what they're in and get to that level?
You've just got to, any advice I would give is to learn how you are as a person.
I think that's
The
true.
first couple of years that I was in this role, I think I was trying so hard to be who I wasn't. I was trying so hard to be this strong woman, but also nice to people. And it was really, really challenging because you arrive on site at an event. I think the first event that I did, someone like went to slap my ass or something, and like a contractor. And honestly,
What?
one of the first events that I had a spectator say one of the most, I can't repeat it, it's so disgusting, but said something really vulgar towards me
Mm,
in front of one of the players. And obviously, that's quite demeaning and it's
yeah,
derogatory. And I really struggled with that because I'm not going to lie, my first reaction is my dad turned around and told me if anyone speaks to you like that, you turn around and give them a right hook. You
yeah,
can't talk to people like that in this role. And you kind of learn who you are as a person and learn, and you just learn from experiences. And any advice that I could give to people is to be yourself. Um,
yeah,
if Although you have to remain professional, but just learn from your experiences and learn from other people as well. Just watch how other people handle situations. You're always going to handle something very different. It is extremely hard in a male dominated industry being a woman. I think some people, you see comments that it's just like, oh yeah, you got that because you're a girl or something like that. And it is, like I said, very special to know that you got somewhere because you just grafted and worked your ass off for it. Um, but it is definitely very difficult. But I think women should hold their ground. It's very difficult because you can hold your ground and you get called a bitch. If
yep,
you're nice to people, you get called a pushover. They're the two
yep.
things. And do you know what? I've been in this role for 5 years now, and I think I'm still trying to establish the balance between the two because it is really
Wow.
difficult. It is very difficult. You have to be a bitch sometimes at the end of the day. And one thing that I would just actually really advise, that women need to support other women.
That's true. I agree.
Support your girls. That is because at the end of
I
the
agree.
day, they are the ones. I've got a very close knit of best friends who turn around and that you support one another,
Yeah.
and we're all in this together. And so we should be doing that. We should be backing each other up. But it's a challenge, and I enjoy it at the end of the day. When you get these tough situations, it is a challenge, and you don't get bored. I'll tell you that.
Oh, tell me about it. Was there ever a time where you felt like I know that you've grafted to be where you are today, but was there ever a time where you felt like giving up? You felt like, "Oh my gosh, I've had enough." How did you turn it around so that you could stay positive and push yourself to move forward?
It's probably quite a bold statement, but every difficult event, I think, like I've thought like that, has crossed my mind. Or it's probably every
Yeah,
event, yeah. Um, because it is tough, and you're not crazy for it to pass through your mind and go, "Oh my god, I want to give up," because it
yeah,
is challenging. It's a lot of pressure, and you put on these events, and also you care about them so much. So when things go wrong, you're really hard on yourself, and that's one thing trying to learn not to do, is to be too hard on myself. And you have this great team around you. Any advice is just to pick yourself up. And one thing that I feel embarrassed saying this, but you just look in the mirror and just go, listen, girl, put your big bloody knickers on, pull your pants up, and go and do what you need to go and do.
It's true though.
You
It's true.
you are the queen. Honestly, do you know how many times
Yeah,
at events where I'm like, "You're a queen, you can do this." Because you have to
yeah.
tell yourself because you doubt yourself so much and it's a real struggle. You feel like giving up all the time, but you wouldn't love stuff as much as you do if you didn't
Oh,
think like that.
well,
So,
that's the point.
it's
That
very
is true.
normal. If anyone's thinks like I wanna give up, honestly, it's normal. It's 100% normal.
If you could give any advice to anybody, any of your fans or anybody who has supported you to where you are today, what advice would you give them to say, listen, this is me, I'm Emily. What would you say to them that you haven't said on a podcast? Because I know you have a podcast too, right?
We only just we've only just started that though, and it's only one episode.
That's all right. I'm
And
going to talk about it a bit as well. What
um,
advice would you give to someone just to say, this is me, this is Emily, this is who I am, but I'm going to tell you something about me that I've never said on my podcast, I've never said to somebody else. What would you say?
wow, what a good question. That's a toughie. I would just say, look, I'm Emily, and it's even though it's taken some time, I'm real. What one thing that you will get is you you will get the real me if you meet me. Um,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not, kind of grown to be like Marmite a little bit, I think.
Oh, you either love me or hate me
You
kind of
either love
thing.
me or hate me, and do you know what? I'm gonna do my thing regardless.
Yeah.
I respect, so many people around me that have accomplished so many things, and there are so many people I really aspire to. So many people my inspiration. Um, don't lose respect for those people. Keep looking up to those people. But I am who I am, and yeah, you either like it or you don't. But one thing that people can't fault me on is that I'm bloody good at what I do and I'm passionate
Yeah.
about it.
Which
Um,
is true.
yeah. Although you
True.
get things wrong, you do 100%, but you learn from it. You feel like you might want to give up, but again, you pull your knickers up and you say, you put your big girl
Yeah.
pants on and you go,
Yeah.
you can do
We all
this.
have them.
Um, and yeah, it's the real me. And I think everyone has their insecurities and things like that. But we all support one another, and I rely on my friends and my family a lot, which is something that lockdown has really, really showed me.
That's true.
My younger
Yeah, I
sister,
think everyone has said that.
yeah,
Definitely.
my younger sister is my best friend,
Oh,
which you always like kind of know it, but she is my best friend. And she gets me through it. I leave her little notes under her door every day. I'm like, smile, bitch, you got this. Um,
oh,
but yeah, it's you just I guess each day you just grow and evolve as a person, don't you? You learn who you are. Um, but yeah, I
I
feel
think
like
that's
I'm
one
going
of
all
the
shy
nicest.
now.
No, I told you everyone gets emotional by the end.
Oh, goodness me.
But I think that's one of the nicest things is because I get to let people be who they really are. And for me, I feel like a listener would appreciate that a lot more and connect with it.
Yeah.
To me, that means a lot.
Well, you're a very
That
good
means a lot.
listener. You're very good to talk to.
Oh, thank you. Hey, say that, guys. Thanks, Han. Um, Tell us a little bit about your podcast. I know you only said you got one episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do you know what? It's quite funny actually. So for a little while we were like, let's do this pool podcast. There's so many crappy ones in them that they're doing at the moment in the pool industry, and it's been on my mind that I wanted to do one of our own. And came downstairs because I live on my own, but I moved in with my family during COVID just for a bit of
Yeah.
sanity, to be completely
Oh,
honest.
that's fair enough. Yeah.
Um, and I walked downstairs and Loose Women was on. And I was looking at it and I was like, it's just basically a panel of these four women all talking to one another and then they have a guest on.
Yeah.
And I said it to we had in our team meeting and I said to the team, I was like, can't we do like a Loose Women of pool? all of a sudden the team's put together this logo, it's loose pool. I was like, I was only bloody joking. You don't have to call it loose pool. Like, I said it off the cuff as like banter. And they were like, no, we actually really like it. And I was like, oh, okay then. So we just thought it was eye-catching. It's a bit different. I think we're going to try
Yeah.
and do it every fortnight and have a different guest on the show.
Cool.
But the aim is to have, we've got our 2 vice captains for Team Europe and USA for the Moscone Cup. They're the young guns. And do you know what? I'll tell you a little secret. They don't like each other. So purposefully put them on a podcast together, which is great. And I'm
Yeah,
going to be
that's it.
there. I'm going to shit
Yeah.
stir it. It's going to be brilliant. But they're both young and they're current, and they are players that the younger generation are all aspiring to. And that's something in pool that I would love to touch base more on, is the younger generation, because they are the ones that are going to help us evolve in the sport.
That's true.
So
Yeah, most definitely.
yeah, early days for our podcast, but it will be exciting.
I think so. I'm definitely going to listen out for it because I love listening to podcasts, and
I
I
bet you
think
do.
that's no, I do. No. In order for you to have something of your own, you have to be willing to listen to other things. So if I want a podcast, you have to be able to listen to at least 100 podcasts. I know it sounds like a vast number, but even in sports, you have to be able to know something about every sport that you can know about in order for you to be knowledgeable about it and be able to pass that knowledge on and put it into your work and have that passion as well. When you bring that all together, that's something beautiful, and it's something that a lot of people I wish understood.
Yeah.
But it's only if you're passionate about it that you yourself would understand, and somebody else who is passionate about it would understand it too.
Yeah.
So no, I'm definitely going to listen to it. Most
Well,
definitely.
let me know what you think.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because I saw the logo when I was doing my research on you. I saw quite a few things. I saw some of your background, where you was coming from, and how you built yourself up, and part of the whole industry you're in as well. So it was a good insight
Okay.
of exactly, because especially when you're coming from not knowing about a company,
For sure.
and then you're doing all this research, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is really good. So my final question for you, Emily, is where can we find
Say that again. Sorry, it cut out.
where can we find you? So your Instagram, your website, anywhere, where can we find you? Where can we find your company?
Super straightforward. So we're just Matchroom Sport, Matchroom Pool website as well has all of our different events on. And then social media, super straightforward. I'm just Emily Frazer, Facebook, Twitter, Twitter and Instagram, M Frazer. And yeah, and anywhere on my stuff is where all of the events are as well, because that's pretty much all I do. As a little mix between working out, that's pretty much all I do, is work and work out. Literally all I do. I'm not on TikTok, though,
Coincide.
uncoordinated.
I'm not in TikTok either,
Okay,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah, you're not the only one. Because I was contemplating whether or not I should go on TikTok, considering the stupidness I do. But I thought, I'll give it some time and let me have a think about it. No, must definitely. Emily, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Ask People podcast.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much for coming
Thank you for
on.
having me. You've been great.
Oh no.
Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Guys, I want to say thank you for listening to the podcast, and please remember to subscribe to iTunes. We're absolutely everywhere. Spotify, Google Play, we're absolutely everywhere. And please remember to always stay kind, stay positive, and continue to be kind to one another.